There is something I keep hearing in the game dev space that I think is genuinely holding people back, and it's this idea that there is no real difference between making games as a hobby and making games as a business. That the advice is the same either way. And I get why people believe that, because on the surface it kind of makes sense. You are still building the games, you are still using the same engine and writing the same code. But having worked on over 140 projects and consulted for studios that have spent serious money on game development, I can tell you that this belief is the single biggest reason talented developers never make a dollar from their skills. As a disclaimer, yes, I've never released my own project just yet, but I've built successful service and consulting business in the game industry. That being said, years of expertise I bring backs me up. And anyway, the another studio I co-founded is building AAA level game as an indie studio, and we see strong demand and attention towards the third-person shooter we work on. And before anyone says not everything has to be about money, I agree. If you want to make games purely because of love and you never want to think about the business side, that's completely fine. But a lot of developers do want this to be their career. They want game dev to pay their rent, and those people are being told that there is nothing specific to learn about the business side. Just keep making games and figure it out, and that's where the things go wrong. Because here's something almost nobody in this space talks about. There are actually two completely different businesses hiding inside what we just call game dev. The first is a product-based business where you are building a game and sell it that requires audience building, wishlist, marketing, a unique selling point, differentiation in the competitor market, community building, launch strategy. It's a real business with the real skills that have nothing to do with how good your code is. The second is a service-based business where you use your game dev skills to work for studios, for funded teams, for people who have a project and need someone who can actually build it. That requires personal branding, positioning, knowing how to find clients, how to price yourself, how to present your work. Completely different path, completely different strategy, completely different income model. And there is this illusion that if you choose this path, then you are guaranteed to fail. Why? Because people have this perspective that it pays low, you can find clients, and it's unreliable. But look at me, I'm always overbooked and I charge premium rates. I did break this strategy down in my previous video, and you can take a look, it's completely different talk. But the game dev world doesn't really separate these two things, it barely even acknowledges they exist. The default advice is either get a job at a studio or build your dream game and put it on the Steam. And if neither of these works out, well, I guess game dev is just not for you, which is insane when you think about how many other ways there are to make a living from these skills. The market is simply too big to fail. And I am not saying this from theory. In 2024, over 18,000 games were released on Steam and less than 3% were considered as a hit. The median indie game makes about $1,100 in its entire lifetime. That's crazy. Were all those other 97% games terrible? No. A lot of them were genuinely good, but they failed because nobody saw them. No positioning, no marketing plan, no understanding of how to actually get a product in front of people who would pay for it. That's not a development failure, that's the visibility problem, and nobody taught those developers the difference. On the other side, I've rebuilt projects for studios that spend $15,000 to $25,000 with no roadmap, no architectural plan, no milestones, no scope document, just passion and wipes. And when it all fell apart, they were surprised. But it wasn't because the developers were bad, it was because nobody on the team was thinking about it like the business. Nobody sat down and said, what's the plan here? What are we actually building? In what order? Why? What is the goal and intent? What is the strategy and the roadmap? Now here is where I think people get it wrong. They hear treat game dev like a business and they think that it means selling out or losing the passion or becoming some kind of marketing person instead of a developer. But that's actually the opposite. Think about every game you've ever loved. Without the business side, those games would still be sitting on someone's hard drive, unseen and unplayed. The business doesn't replace the craft, it gives the craft a chance actually to survive. Without business thinking, the art never reaches anyone. For example, there are painters who stay average because of no business skills and perhaps paint skill, but there could be another painter, not necessarily a lot better, but still making fortune because the painter gets the business perspective. A brilliant artist who also understands business. That's the goal, that's the combination that actually wins. Take Leonardo da Vinci as an example. Whenever Leonardo was given a commission, he went well beyond the task, poring over every detail to make the work more lifelike or effective. No one had to tell him to do this. He was ferociously diligent and hard on himself. He would not say, "Oh, I do this out of passion, I don't want to make money." He was the greatest and used his gift to live off of it and prosper. I figured this out the hard way. Nobody in game dev taught me the business because they don't know it themselves. I had to bring that thinking from the outside of this industry entirely, because all of the courses in game dev are how to code, and the question of do they really even fulfill this promise is another discussion, but there are no courses or programs at all that reveal business thinking behind every action. The moment I started thinking about my skills as a product that people need instead of just a passion that I need to be good at, everything changed. Not because I get better at coding, but because I understood who needs what I build and how to reach them. It connected with how I wanted to improve in game dev as well. It incentivized to master planning, strategy of the project, software architecture, better coding, and overall management. The business thinking improved my game dev indirectly. Hope this makes sense. I'd love to hear from you guys.